Welcome back, bookworms. This week we have the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Pew, 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 pew. I sent my gun to pew.
Stay tuned.
We're going to talk the good, the bad, and the straight up fugly.
Well, I mean, it's so effing ugly. It's fugly.
I mean, this is the kind of ugly your mama doesn't even like that much.
Can we start with the ugly? I kind of want to start with the ugly. So we can work our way up the food chain.
We'll end on a positive note. Start with the ugly.
Yeah. All right. You've heard me talk digital books.
At length, whether we want to or not.
And that's kind of where we're doing this whole tech thing this week with the good, bad, and ugly. I'm really excited because Casey is totally willing participant on this.
I'm a little reluctant. I'm not going to lie.
It's not even at all.
Okay.
But we're going to start with the fugly.
The fugly.
Because you're a library person.
I mean,
we all are.
I love my local library.
We all do. But whereas I sometimes want to get my book digitally so that I don't have to worry about going to the actual library.
Heaven forbid we interact with the people.
Have you ever met a librarian?
I remember the kindly librarians from my youth.
Not all of them are so kind or so sweet.
Like evil spinster
It
librarians?
depends on which library you go to. I really think that. I go to a inner city library a lot, and they have to deal with a little bit more, so they're a little bit more cranky.
Like inner city? Like hardcore library?
Yeah, as hardcore as Tennessee can get.
Like, do you have to stand on like certain sides of the library because they're like
Pretty
turf?
much. I mean, if you go in wearing blue, you're gonna get hit in the head with a book.
Like the reference section is mine.
Nowhere.
Like you got to stay over there with the atlases.
And I promise you, those CD-ROMs, books on disc, they hurt when they cut you. Okay, we've gotten off topic.
Again.
But the app that is used, the digital format that is used for libraries around the country is Overdrive.
Libraries?
Libraries. Whatever.
Libraries?
I put the emphasis in the wrong syllable.
Okay, I'll quit interrupting. You were saying, and we were so wrapped with what you were saying. Say again.
Overdrive.
Overdrive.
It is effing ugly.
Okay.
Can we use our one F-bomb here? Fuck a bunch of that.
We totally had to rock, paper, scissors for that. That's not fair.
No, you always get the F-bomb. I wanted it one time.
You broke protocol. Dishonor. Dishonor on you.
On your cow.
On your family, on your cow, dishonor. Okay. But no.
It sucks.
I haven't had a practical application with
You tried to. Let's talk about your little foray into the try.
I was like, hey, I like libraries.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about library books. This might be something I can get behind. Turns out, no, not so much. Just to actually get to the point where you can download books is like, you're like swimming, you're like a little salmon. You're swimming like up the creek, trying to like spawn and stuff, and bears are trying to eat you. You get eaten by bears.
So you call them salmon?
They are salmon.
Okay. The description was just like leading itself to the book snake.
We gotta quit talking about the book snake. Anyway, unlike a lot of other downloadable appy things, e-reader type things, this is not a one-step process.
No, it asks for your firstborn.
And your blood type, and...
You have to spin a certain number of gold thread.
And prick your finger, and Rumpelstiltskin has to give you a riddle.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as complex as all that.
Drink me. Like it's serious.
I'm gonna take that back. It was an Alice in Wonderland thing, okay? I was following the Alice in Wonderland theme. Okay, first of all, you go onto Overdrive, and you have to have an Adobe ID.
Yes.
I do not have one of these. I don't even know how to go about getting an Adobe ID. Now, you have one.
Well, yes, but like who? Like Adobe's going out the door, people.
And okay,
well, not out the door, but
if you don't have an Adobe ID, you have to like go through the whole Adobe ID rigmarole.
You have to install, like there's extra installs,
and then you have to go to I think
installations,
it's Safari. So it's like from Overdrive to Safari to Adobe, then back to Overdrive, and finally once you sacrifice the cow and the goat and the chicken, and you get like the little pin numbers and everything, you can finally download a book. if they have it available.
Exactly. Like you have to have a library card at your library. So it's not all libraries are hooked together in this Overdrive app. It is all libraries use this app, but you cannot share within other libraries. You are limited to the library card that you have and what they have available.
So even
and
though
it's frustrating as crap.
Overdrive boasts, we have 1.8 million titles to choose from, but that's...
You have to have a library card at each location.
Every single library. If your local library only has 10 ebooks,
you only get 10.
You get a choice of 10. And it can actually be checked out. So the book you want, you're not even guaranteed to get. You may actually have to wait for it.
Mm-hmm.
This is not I want to read this book and click you're done. You gotta be like, oh, hope nobody has my book.
Yeah. So we're gonna call this one the ugly.
It is straight up ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Even I'm like, there's
the
gotta be better ways.
It's great.
It is
it's
a great
just
concept.
It's not a practical execution at this point.
Poor application.
Speaking of, our bad
are slightly up from ugly.
Something that we talked about. It's a little bit more than slightly, for my opinion. But I've actually had a chance to use it too. You haven't had a chance to use it yet because you're Android and I'm Apple.
The fighting continues.
No, our iOS. Let me be correct because our little tech guy is, the technician gentleman that knows all of his technology staring off camera at me looked at me when I said Android and Apple. So I kind of needed to clarify iOS operating system. I don't know. You get it. We get it.
I don't get it.
Whatevs. Anyway, Oyster Books. We've talked about it before.
We did.
And I was going to give a review today based off of the fact that it was going to be our bad because it was only available on the iOS system. Or iOS. But
it's on.
Now, 2 days ago, it just dropped on Android market.
So I could get it if I wanted it.
So you can get it.
I don't want it.
I can get it on my tablet. Because that was my problem. I was reading it on my phone. I don't want to read my phone. It's a tiny little screen. It's only like 5 inches or something like that. It's itty bitty.
Size doesn't matter. It's the content therein.
Mm-hmm. It's how it's used. The content.
It's how it's used.
Yes. That's it. Yeah. Anywho, so now I can use it on my tablet. So it's going to be I'm going to be really excited.
Now, for those of you who don't remember or maybe didn't see the show, shame on you. Refresh my memory a little bit. Oyster it's a $9.99 a month.
Mm-hmm.
You pay for the content on there, but you don't get to keep anything. You just basically,
It's like Netflix.
Okay. Wait a minute. Now I remember because you were all like, it wasn't the Netflix. It's not the Netflix.
I
books,
don't
Casey.
like that terminology, but it's the best way. It's really the best way to explain it at this point.
Okay, now you've had it for a little while, and you've been playing with it,
Mm-hmm.
Booksnick. Do you think it's worth the $10 a month?
Now I do.
Now you do.
Because everybody can use it. $10 for me is doable because we are both power readers. Still, the concept that they have going on right now and the content they have available right now is still a power reader friendly only.
So the casual reader, not so much. But
the casual reader's really not going to get that much out of it at this time.
I mean, I'm telling you, for me right now, $10 a month is not keeping me in books. I mean, in the traditional sense.
Right.
Like through the bookstore or even through my local used bookstore. $10 a month, that's...
Yeah. I mean, it's gone. Like, I can spend $10 easy.
Like my book allowance would shame most people. I spend more money on books than, like, some people do on rent.
But you don't do anything else.
I do stuff.
You do not. Your $1, $2, $3 Redbox on Friday with a bottle of wine does not count.
I get lonely sometimes. I'm not a big loser as you make me out to be.
I did not say I was a loser at all.
It was an implied loser.
I was saying, you said the rent and the money, and I'm saying, like, I have just as much budget on books as you do, just because I get them in a different format. We're getting off topic.
My feelings are a little hurt.
I'm sorry. Good kitty. Good kitty. Yeah. Anywho, back to what I was saying. What it is right now is for a power reader. But we have some ideas, Oyster Books. Listen to us.
Because we know you're watching this right now going,
how
can we make this better?
Because I'm tagging you on Twitter. I'm going to tweet you things. And this is what I'm going to tweet you.
What are you going to tweet them?
Broaden your content. No, your type of content.
I've heard that.
Give me some novellas. Give me a little bit of extra. Give me a magazine. Give me a comic book. Give me something that's... Most adults read a book a week, a book every 2 weeks.
Not most adults.
$10 isn't doing anything at this time. But if you give me a magazine subscription, you give me a daily little blurb, you give me a game, a word puzzle or something.
So you want
related.
more for your money. That's not just... You don't want just the books. You want...
Right.
We're part of the we want more kind of generation. Like, the books are great, but what else are you going to give me?
No, it's not even that necessarily. It's... What it is right now, $9 or $10 is not doable for a normal person because it's kind of a waste of their money. It's not brand new books. Like the newest book on there is going to be 90 days old.
Okay, so I remember now. It's not new releases. It's more recent releases.
It's recent releases all the way back to the classics.
Which is still, I mean, there is a lot there for people like us to tap into, that people like us who can devour books. But like you said, your average person is not going to get their money's worth out of it.
I don't think so. But if you give us a magazine subscription in there as well, or if you give, like I said, comic books, anything, something else to entice viewers and subscriptions. And there was one other thing that I actually read about that I thought was a brilliant idea: an annual subscription. I could justify spending $100 for a year of usage.
If I knew I was going to get not only...
$100, you're going to read $100 worth of books.
Well, yeah, I mean, we will, and I think a lot of people will, but...
Well, right now it's $120. $10 a month is $120.
That's still a lot of money for something that I'm going to have to wait for a book to come out before I can... And
That's
something
true.
I'm not going to be able to keep. $100, I mean,
excuse me.
I'm cheap. You guys, some of you out there I'm sure are cheap. I got the bug. The bug tried to fly in my mouth.
We have this tiny little ninja fruit fly,
and it's like doing some kamikaze at our face.
Sorry.
Pew pew.
Wah. Wah.
I completely forgot where I was going with that. Like, the bug just, it got me.
It zapped you.
It zapped me. I lost my train of thought.
$100 a month.
$100 a month. Okay. I'm cheap. That's a lot of money to me, especially on something that is not going to be lasting.
You just got done saying you drop more on a month than most people do on rent.
But I get to put each one of those books on my shelf, and I get to read it over and over again, and I get to have it, and it's a tangible thing. I'm gonna download an Oyster book, and it's gonna be gone.
I spent $120 for Netflix.
That's crazy talk.
I don't think so.
Crazy talk.
I spent $120 a year for Netflix, and I used the heck out of that thing.
Okay, you said a month the first time. That's why I was like, oh my god, mind blown.
That was retarded.
Like, that's way too much money for some Netflix.
Not retarded, janky. I'm trying to fix myself.
We're still pleased.
I know. Which leads us, technically, to our next little... It's a nice little segue. Because our good is Amazon.
Shocking. Surprisingly, Amazon.
Huge shock.
And we were both on the same page.
Bookworms. We really are. So about a month ago,
give or take,
yeah, there was a story that dropped.
Internet bomb.
Mm-hmm. And everybody went nutso.
And
I hate Amazon. Death to Amazon.
Vilifying the Amazon corporation over basically what comes down to a fight between Amazon and several of its publishers over...
Well, it was one primary publisher.
One primary publisher, but there was the whole collusion thing with other publishers and they countersuing and whatnot. Yeah. But basically it came down to this publisher and Amazon were fighting over ebook profit margins. Mm-hmm. And the publishers are, of course, wanting more without paying more and wanting Amazon to cover more of this and more of that and give them higher and higher profits. And Amazon's going, look, guys, you want to sell your books here? This is what you get. Mm-hmm. And people were like, oh my God, Amazon, you devil of a company. And I read the story. At first, I was on the anti-Amazon bandwagon.
She was, and I was like...
But then I started doing a little more research. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, wait a minute. I may have had this all wrong. Mm-hmm. Amazon is just a business. And as a business, they have the right to set the standards.
Absolutely.
For which they operate with people.
There are so many markets right now for digital books that, I'm sorry, you don't want to deal with Amazon? Don't.
And people were going on and on about, well, Amazon is they're removing...
They want the government to get involved.
It's crazy, but now Amazon did do some kind of, like, smacking down these people kind of moves, well, you don't want to play by our rules? Fine, we're gonna remove the discounts. We're not gonna let people pre-order your books.
Well, they did it because there's no guarantee that they're going to get it. The publisher is not necessarily going to let Amazon have these. Mm-hmm. So if I, as a Kindle user, bought a book and suddenly I don't have access to it, who am I going to get mad at? Amazon. I'm not going to get mad at the publisher. I'm going to get mad at Amazon because they are the ones who took my money. It's a completely smart business move for Amazon to do that. Completely.
And I agree, and I think I finally got behind Amazon when I read the letter that Amazon, the official kind of form letter that Amazon put out saying, listen, we encourage you, if you don't like the way we're doing it, if you really want these titles and you want these books from these publishers, go elsewhere. Feel free to seek these books through other avenues.
Right.
And I thought, if they were really these money-grubbing,
vile people, they wouldn't send it to their competitor.
They wouldn't be like, hey, go next door.
But really, to me, the issue is deeper.
It's deeper.
The publishers before Amazon, they were yelling at Barnes & Noble and Borders.
I miss Borders.
I mean, it's for years, they've always had issues. They've always wanted more money. It all boils down to money. The publishers want more money.
It's always
they want to give
way.
And the authors are wanting more money from the publishers. And the publishers are wanting Amazon and bookstores to take on the additional costs that the authors are requesting. That's really what this boils down to. They want to keep their money, and then, hey, why don't you give me some extra money so I can give it to the authors and get them off my back?
And really, I mean, it's on the publisher. Mm-hmm. It's on the publisher to cover whatever extra expenditure it takes to keep their publishers happy.
Exactly.
But don't try to make it the Amazon or the bookstore's prerogative that, oh, well, we want you to give us more money because of reasons.
Yeah.
Like, no, it doesn't work that way. Sorry, but on this one, we're on the side of Amazon.
Amazons are good. I mean, which is essentially for us as bookworms is Kindle for the digital and the Amazon just books in general for
I do a lot of Amazon booking.
I mean, Amazon's our winner.
Sorry. Hands down is Amazon.
Yeah. Sorry, we're not sorry. So, I guess that pretty much wraps us up. We've covered our good and our bad and our fugly.
Our super fugly. But check them out for yourself. Maybe you think our fugly is totally awesome and that's your good.
Let us know if you disagree with us. We would love to have an educated debate.
Educated, mind you.
Educated, because we know our words. We have big words.
We use books and stuff.
We're going to use them. So,
thesaurus.
Yeah, pretty much.
But let us know.
1. This week on Hit the Books, we do a book that Casey has been on me about for a few months now. Do you want to tell them what it is?
Okay. The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. Mm-hmm. Hands down, one of the best stories I've read in a couple of years.
Really?
I really enjoyed it, and I kind of forgot how much I enjoyed it until I reread it.
Today.
In preparation for this, I reread it today. That's the other thing. It's a very small book.
It is a small book. It still took me 2 days to read it.
It's a little longer than a novella, but not your full-fledged kind of novel. And I reread it today. I'm going, oh God, I remember why I like this so much.
You were devouring it. I read it.
I can devour and savor at the same time.
No, I mean, I did not enjoy it as much as you did. I liked it. It was a very good book.
It was magical.
It did have magic in it. That's true.
Okay, for those of you who maybe don't know what we're talking about, shame on you. But
give us a brief synopsis.
Darling. Basically, Ocean at the End of the Lane, you have this very brief synopsis. You have this
spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
You have this full-grown man who's coming back for his father's funeral. And after the funeral, he's kind of wandering around his childhood area, and he comes across this farmhouse that he'd almost completely forgotten about. And he remembers this little friend he had that lived at this farmhouse, this little girl named Letty. And as he sits down by the pond, he starts to remember things from his childhood. And what follows is this really fantastical, magical, ethereal kind of story that this boy is remembering. Well, this man is remembering that takes place as a boy.
what I really like about it is I still, at the end of the book, I'm not really sure if it happened or not.
Okay, I totally know what happened.
No, I'm not sure that it actually happened.
No, and I'm saying I think it happened.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the it happened bandwagon.
I want to believe that it happened. Because it's a very fanciful, like you're saying, it's a story full of fancy and magic and terror.
Utter
There
terror.
are a child could read this book and not a child, I would say like a teenager, early teenager,
young adult.
Yeah. They could read this book and I would let them read this book. And
Yeah.
they would not get the same story out of it that I am. That's what's brilliant, because Neil Gaiman, is it Gaiman or Gaiman?
I pronounce it Gaiman.
Okay. Neil Gaiman also writes children's books, young adult books, and adult novels.
And some of his adult novels, American Gods, oh my god.
Yeah, American Gods
Fabulous.
is really good.
And the tie-in he did with Terry Pratchett.
Terry Pratchett.
Good Omens, also fabulous. But this book, I really, like you're talking about, like, it's scary in the way that children's books can be, but reading it as an adult,
I know what's going on.
and you're like, holy crap.
I'm like, did that just happen?
Like,
He bled reality and imagination and magic. He bled those two worlds together
so
seamlessly.
that you're reading, like you said, at the end going, I'm not sure what's real here and what's not. But even if you take it at face value or as just a story that this guy is remembering, maybe it's a real memory, maybe it's not. But the fact that you can read through this and go, huh. I like books that make me go, huh.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions raised, and they don't really answer some of them.
And
some of them do, but there are open-endedness here.
And I like that the book takes some things for granted.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what, we're not going to explain it to you. That's the way it works.
Right.
And you kind of have to fill in those blanks for yourself a little bit.
I'm looking down because I
Book snake?
bookmarked a lot of this. I'm looking sideways because I bookmark a lot of these things. And the grandmother says, you don't need to know. It's not for you to know. Like, that's one of her lines. And I loved it because he is asking questions, and it's as big as it needs to be. How big does this need to be? As big as it needs to be. And it's just like, when you read it, you're going to see what we're talking about.
It's beautifully written.
It is.
And I kind of overuse that term sometimes, but this book is really just beautifully written. It's beautifully rendered.
And do you know, like, his biography? Like, his story?
Not all that much.
You need to read about him because there are so many details about his personal life that he included this intentionally. Like, this is
in this
almost,
particular book.
Yeah, this is almost, you're almost questioning if it's him. Because it's an unnamed man at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it kind of puts you in that mindset that maybe this is him.
Okay, well, now I'm a little sad that I didn't know that and couldn't, look at it from that.
Well, you're going to read it again.
I'm going to reread it. Like I said.
Not like... I do want to tell you one quote, though, because I really like this quote a lot. And this is the reason that I like the book so much, is because it has a quote in here. I liked myths. They weren't adult stories, and they weren't children's stories. They were better than that. They just were. And that's something that it struck me. Because that's kind of how we're describing this story.
It is kind of. It's not... I'm having deep thoughts here, bookworms.
I know, right?
It's giving me a little bit of a headache.
Dropped a bomb here.
I know.
She's not used to
I'm
thinking.
Glazed look on my face. Like, I think you and I, we have a tendency to, we'll read something, but we're not just reading it.
Right.
We're reading it and analyzing it and pulling this and pulling here. And what do we know about the author? And we're making so many other branches on this little book tree, book snake, that most people, I don't think, necessarily do all the time. And I think that gives us a better insight. Not even a better insight, but a different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Not better.
I agree.
Not better. I mean, a little bit better than you.
You know.
And I think more people, if they took the time to not just look at the surface, to actually think about what they're reading, would get a lot more out of it.
Right.
But even this book, you want to read this book on the surface? You want this to be your toilet book? Go ahead. It's awesome.
You can't, and that's what's so great about this book. You can And talking about it with you, I'm getting more and more excited about it. But I mean, it's a book for all levels of reading.
It is.
Somebody like me can read it and take quotes like that and actually see some Greek mythology woven through this. Mm-hmm. Somebody like you can take this and compare it to a lot of classic works and his previous books that you've read and compare his style and his narration. Mm-hmm. You know, people like RJ and Steven, or RJ and Rev off of that Stupid Podcast, they can read this book and take from it something completely different and not less, but just they can take it for a more pop culture version or surface level. And it's very interesting.
It is very interesting. And I would recommend this book to anyone who maybe hasn't read any Neil Gaiman, you know, to kind of get their toe in the ocean, so to speak.
I agree.
Start with The Ocean at the End of the Lane. It's a brief book. It's really, really entertaining. But before you dive into something like American Gods, mm-hmm. which, I mean, I really enjoyed that book.
It's a heavy book, though.
It's a tome.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a, you gotta wade through that book.
You settle in. It's
like the book is
tiny font and it's giant.
It's huge. Like, you better clear your calendar for the next week.
It is really good.
It is
phenomenal
really
book.
Good.
And it also deals with mythology, a lot about mythology.
And I'll just say,
Sorry. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Stole my thunder.
Your Zeus bolts.
Pew.
We're on a pew 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 pew.
There's something wrong with us, I think. But this is almost a lighter version of what you can find in some of his other works. So yeah. I think it's a great intro to Neil Gaiman.
I agree.
If you're like, hey, this guy sounds nifty, I want to know more, pick up The Ocean at the End of the Lane.
Absolutely. I agree.
So that's your book recommendation. Do it now.
And you know, we still have not given away our Amazon gift card. And we've really pumped Amazon up this episode.
Should I give them maybe a little quiz quote? A little trivia question?
Ooh, trivia. Trivia. And the drum roll, please.
Since we're doing some Ocean at the End of the Lane, I want to know from you people.
From you.
What is the name of the monster? What is the monster's... I use the quote monster. What is its real name?
Its real name or the human name?
The girl says its name. And then the monster asks, how did you know my name? Where did you learn my name?
Can I add to that trivia question?
If you feel it necessary.
Actually, no, I don't. Because as a supernatural reader, we both love our soups. We've learned, and not just from supernatural stuff, but I mean just in general, names have power. They really do.
And to know something's true name,
you can do things with that. Using a pronoun, using anything in place of said name. The second you have the name, you can hold them to things.
So that's
you can hold them accountable. So I agree.
I want to know I call it monster for lack of a better term.
The true name.
The true name.
Of this entity.
You know the one we're talking about once you start reading.
Of the flea.
The flea. Tell me the name.
The grandmother calls them fleas, so...
Okay, that's your trivia question. Yeah. If someone answers it, you can get an Amazon
Please
plastic.
Answer. Google that, man. Come on.
Let us give something away.
We want to give you money for Amazon. And you don't have to use it for books. You should, but you don't have to.
But don't tell us if you don't, because we'll shame
cry.
you.
Well, I'll cry. She'll shame. Pretty much. So
I think that covers it.
I do too.
I think we're covered.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We were a little goofy. A little pew, 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 pew. Stay tuned. See us next time. Bye, guys.